Hello, everybody. I'm here to provide some tips on how to improve your Zoom meetings and your Zoom recordings. I'm actually purposefully showing you how most people do Zoom recordings with poor lighting and poor audio. Mistake number one is just sort of turning it on and assuming, hey, everything's okay. A lot of times you'll see people doing this. So anyway, they don't know how to set up their computer. Sometimes they're not paying attention to that. So I want to give you some tips on how to improve your Zoom meetings or screen recordings. Okay. So first of all, depending on what camera you have on your computer or device. In this case here, this is an iMac, and I have a camera right up here at the top of the screen. And it's important to know where your camera is, because when you're talking to people, you want to try to look at the camera. Okay, so it's hard to do because I'm looking at my picture on my screen as opposed to looking up here. But see the difference? If I'm looking at the camera, hello camera. It's very important to look at the camera when you're talking to somebody. You don't have to. I mean, it's obviously, most people will talk just below the camera. So I'm actually moving my picture up toward the camera. So I'm at least looking towards myself. As opposed to if I have it down here and I'm looking down here, makes a big difference. So looking at the camera is going to be important. Positioning of your computer is going to be important too. So we don't want it too far left or right. And notice how so trimming me off. Obviously we don't want this kind of a thing. Talking like this is not a good idea. It doesn't look good, right? So we want to make sure we have the camera angle. Camera angle is important. So we're going to talk about that. We're talking about camera angle. Centered. Okay, we have ourselves centered. We don't want to be too far away. And unless if we're too far away, we're talking about my office, my electric guitar, my meditation beads, or whatever. If I'm back here talking about stuff, that's fine. But most of the time we're in a meeting, we're talking about a meeting, we want to be here. We don't want to be too close and we don't want to be too far. We want to be sort of positioned in the middle, So looking at the camera position and camera placement is important. Hold on a second. Something just fell out of my computer. I'm going to need this in a second, and I'll show you why. So lighting is very important. So what you're going to notice is that, depending on your lighting in your office or your room or whatever, let me show you a difference here. Where I have overhead lighting right now, let me turn the lighting off. You can see how dark things are. They're really bad. So the next thing I want to mention is how important lighting is to your video. Make sure you're in a well-lit area, especially forelighting or forward-facing lighting that's pointing at me, okay? That's going to be really important. But watch what happens when I turn my overhead lights back on. Click, okay? So there's more light. So you have a light source. You have a light source above you and around you. You have light source coming from the window. So you see the difference, how I'm all lit up. Now, watch this. So when I change the angle of my computer, see how I'm darker here? And now I'm going to go this way and watch how I brighten up. Whoop! I'm much brighter because I have the window light coming on to me here. So I have the window light. I have light bouncing off of the walls on top of me. I have the overhead lighting. So watch your lighting with your positioning. You might want to change your desk so that you like your lighting. And I'll show you another trick here. So if I'm here like this, and I want to have improved lighting, what I do, and I'll see if I can share my screen and do this, but what I'm doing is opening up a web browser. I'm going to Safari now, and I'm opening up a blank white backdrop. I go to google.com, which is all white, and look what happens. So see, I'm going to show this. I'm going to show this as a screen grab here. Let me take a screen grab. Okay. And I'll add this to my video. But look at the difference now, where, see, I have the Google screen right here is basically a giant white rectangle on the screen. Okay. It's a giant white rectangle. Now watch what happens when it goes away. See how the light's gone? It's here, it's gone, it's here. Because it's actually this Google white screen is lighting my face. This is a simple poor man's way of lighting. You know, you could do a pretty good job here. And again, placement, you know, if I'm up close, okay, hi everybody, hello, you know, you can see me. I think this is very important. So again, positioning of the camera, centering yourself, using decent lighting, looking at the camera, sitting up straight, smiling. Okay, these are things that help a video when you're on a video call, especially on Zoom. Okay, so now, if you have the ability to get one of these types of lights here, this is a ring light or an external light. This is, you see these all the time with people. And how this works is a USB device that plugs in, and usually it has a controller like this, and some of them are wireless, and you can turn it on and watch what happens. Now, you can position it on a stand in front of your camera like this. Well, watch what happens. Woo! See that? And you can change the hue. See the coloring? You can click through and change the hue and coloring on it. Well, let's say like this, like you want a nice tan colored skin or whatever. And then, you know, obviously you don't want to be too close. You know, you look like an astronaut. You don't want to do that. So you zoom back and you kind of put it where your camera is. And that puts little gleams in your eye. It lights up your face so people can see you or whatever. But look at the difference of the light ring on and the light ring off. On, off, on, off. See the difference? So sometimes when I'm in a big meeting or presentation, I'll do this because I want people to see me, and it's much, much, much better lighting, and it's controlled lighting. You know, if you put it to the side, it doesn't work so well. See? Sometimes overhead works, but it creates weird shadows. We don't want that. So usually head on is the best idea. So these halo lights are really inexpensive. I mean, you can get them around $20 to $30 for a decent one here. I recommend them, but don't feel like you have to do it. So remember, you can do the simple version. Let me put this away. So much stuff in the office. Oh, what a clutter. Is again, this white Google box, Google screen here. See, with it, without it, with it, without it. Big difference. So focus on lighting and positioning too. You know, positioning your computer makes a big difference. See, dark, light. So play around with positioning in your office. Play around with the device you're using. Maybe you're on a phone. You recommend using a computer with a good camera. I mean, this computer back here, I'm going to be replacing this one with that one shortly. But this one here has an external camera, which is nice because it comes off and you can move it around and different things, right? So experiment with different cameras. Something that you're comfortable with, though. You know, you don't want to go out of your way and spend a fortune on it. You just want to be, you want it to be nice. You want it to be presentable. You want to look confident and all this kind of stuff in your Zoom meetings. So those are a couple of tips. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is sound. So right now, you're hearing me through the speakers that are in the computer. And I'm sorry, the microphone that's in the computer here. So in Zoom, there are settings you can go to right now where if I go to click the little caret next to the mute button, and I go up to select microphone, it says built-in microphone. Now what I do is I have this external microphone right here. It's a Samson. It's a pretty expensive microphone, but it works really well. It's USB, and I'm going to plug that in here. This is, again, USB plug, USB. And plug that into my computer. I'm going to turn it on. Okay. Now, since I'm on a Mac, I sometimes have to go to my preferences, system preferences, and then I go on, let's go to sound here. Okay, make sure that I'm clicked on, which I am. Okay. So again, now I'm going to go back to my caret here. Speaker, there it is. So I'm going to click on, I'm going to show you with a screen grab. Now watch this. I'm going to switch over from regular sound to Samson microphone, and you should notice a difference right away. There. Now, if I check this caret mark here on Zoom, it says Samson microphone. That's what I want. Good. So now you should be able to hear a difference. Now, when you're in with a microphone, keep in mind, you don't want to talk too close and you don't want to talk too far away. You want to kind of talk normal. Now, you can actually move the microphone down so you can still use it, right? But it's out of the way. There are a couple of other devices I won't show you now, but consider using a lapel microphone where you clip it on here and plug that into your computer. There are a number of audio devices that work really, really well, to connect to your Zoom meetings. You have headphones with microphones on it. There's a whole number of devices that make your audio come out a lot better in your Zoom meetings. So consider a microphone. If you're worried about audio, consider a microphone. That's not a bad idea. Okay, so let me turn this off, and now you will see me talking, and you won't. Plug it. It's going to change back to default. So now you're going to notice a change in the sound. So if you're using your default sound, that's fine. Just make sure not to talk real quietly like this. You want to talk real quiet. You want to talk loud, but not too loud. You don't want to scream and shout. You want to talk assertively. Okay, so if that's the best you have. Now, one thing I also recommend, if you are an iPhone user, I don't know how to use the other phones, but most of the time on these phones, you have, on the iPhones, you have voice memos. It's an app right there, voice memos, and you click on that there, and you record. You literally sit here and record this like this, and see, it records and it shows you the waves going up and down depending on how I'm talking. Usually I set this up for my calls or for podcasts, and the microphone is right here you're talking into, so you want it facing you, is I'll actually put this in front of me and I will record this conversation or even this meeting here with this, because this picks up really, really good sound. And then when you're done with it, the call's over, we close the call and we stop this, hit the stop button, right? And then over here, you have these little buttons on the right side here, these three little buttons, and you click this and you share it, and you can text it or email it or airdrop it to your computer. And then you have an excellent audio file as well. So if you're able to retain a lot of this information and practice all of this information, these things help your recordings a great deal, so you have a better Zoom call. And these are very basic. I have other videos on some more advanced techniques. These are all very basic ideas on how to look good, basically look good for a Zoom call. Again, I'm using my Google White screen without, right? It looks really good. And basic audio, to at least have a decent conversation, to look pretty good. And by the way, I should show you this too. There are techniques on video that you can click on with filters. There's video, let's see here, go to video settings on Zoom. There's touch up my appearance, which you can do, which, kind of, if you do this, see how it blurs me out. So if you're self-conscious about wrinkles and things, you can click it back and forth and it smooths out your skin so you look radiant and glowing. Don't get too caught up in that though. You should love yourself the way you are, but that's another story. So there's touch up your appearance, but then there's also background and effects, and you click on this here, and there are things like I could blur my background like this. It's going to take a delay. See how it just blurred my background? So we can do that too. It's okay. I'm not crazy about it because it makes a weird cutout effect, and I don't like it. I mean, if I do it, I do green screen. But you can do that. You can actually add images in the background. Let's see, there's video filters too. There's funny things you can do too, like if you wanted to add a mask and do goofy things like that. But I only do that when I'm having fun with my family or friends. But so there are effects you can do. Let me go to none here, go back. So there are effects in Zoom that you can use. They're also available in Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams has a few as well. But for Zoom, There are a couple of filters. I don't recommend them. I don't think you really need to do them. So that being said, I should mention this one last thing, that make sure that whatever setting you have when you're doing your meeting, that you don't have too much clutter behind you. You want it sort of soft and neutral, and even this is too much, having this computer here, have a nice plant set up. My guitar is my guitar. It's just sitting here on the wall. But you want to have a nice clean office space. You don't want too much clutter because this video might be shown somewhere by somebody. So you want to make sure that you have it presentable. Clean it up a little bit, clean up your chairs, your throw pillows. I forgot to mention too, the blinds. If you're by windows, you might want to close the blinds or open the blinds. Pay attention to the sunlight coming in. If it's too bright, pay attention to your surroundings. And I know this is a lot to retain, but I just wanted to share some tips and tricks on how to improve your Zoom video. And I hope these tips help you have a better video.